Hey, what is up YouTube? This is Merman Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel with a brand new video today, and today we're going to be talking about legacy support. Now, I've been seeing a lot of things coming out recently with the new release of the new reprints, I believe, in Champion, I want to say CP19 or Collector's Pack 2019. They've decided to reprint some of the most old elemental heroes out there. I think it's Avion, Burstinatrix, and Sparkman are getting reprints in that set, and a lot of people are kind of, mum about that, and it seems like Konami's like pushing a lot of the old archetypes again for this pack. Now, as you guys know, Konami has been on a binge with the legacy support. They've pretty much gone like full out on dual on the DM era, and now they're going into the GX era, and they want to keep that support coming. And so I was reading some posts on Reddit, and they were talking about the nature of the legacy support that has been coming out. And, a lot of people, they always like to make the jokes about, like, new elemental hero support, for instance, revamping the entire archetype, bringing Avion and Burstinatrix and all those guys into the modern era. And there's another group of people, and I think Konami is kind of involved with this as well, that believe, in legacy support that makes the old cards, I guess, usable and playable. We saw great examples of that with the brand new legacy support for the Neospatian deck, for instance. That legacy support kind of revitalized the deck and made it from an unplayable mess into something that's actually like very decent and incredibly fun to play. Shoring up on the weaknesses of the Neospatians while still encouraging and per se like forcing you to run the original Neos as well as the original Neospatians, and giving you incentives to do so. The same, I think, can be said about Fluffals as a deck, but they were created to, I guess, revive the fusion mechanic. Fluffals as a deck are very, very cool, and I think was the first major step that Konami took into reviving these old mechanics rather than just sticking with whatever new mechanic they had out. And one of the best decisions that I think that they made with that is that they made polymerization into a useful and sought-after card. Polymerization is the fusion card. It's like the oldest one, but to be completely honest, guys, it's a -3. It's a -3. And, that's not even considering the monster that it summons, but it's a -3. Fusion was an incredibly hard archetype to, get things going, and so it would have been so easy for Konami to just print a kind of polymerization card that said, fuse from your hand, field, and or deck or something like that. There were not many fusion monsters out at the time, so it wouldn't have completely broken the mechanic at the time that Konami might have planned to release it. But instead, Konami chose to support polymerization as a card. They chose to support polymerization, creating the entire Fluffal archetype around grabbing polymerization to your hand along with your edge-im stuff, like getting your materials and making sure that you could consistently fusion summon every single turn using polymerization without netting, any kind of loss. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever, guys, because the nature of polymerization as a card, lends itself to just being an incredibly bricky card if you don't have one of, if you're missing either that or like one of your, if you're missing polymerization or one of your materials, your hand's pretty much bricked at that point. Or it was at the time before, the materials themselves started to have really, really good effects. But, your hand was bricked without the polymerization, and Konami, I guess, understood what was needed in order to make polymerization good and to make people want to play polymerization. And they designed the archetype around getting to polymerization as fast as you possibly could. I think the crazy thing about Konami and the crazy thing about what they are what they are doing with legacy support, and it's, I'll be honest, guys, it's the reason that I stay in the game. They are redefining the old cards and making them usable. Between running Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can't play Blue Eyes without 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon himself. In the same way, you cannot play Red Eyes without 3 copies of Red Eyes Black Dragon. They could have done what they did with Monarchs, which was completely, redefine the archetypes so that, none of the old Monarchs were used anymore. OG Caius and OG Ryza, get out of here. We need to make way for your mega counterparts. Or like Gravekeepers trying to redefine the archetype and, make all the old stuff unusable except for Necro Valley. I think it really is a testament to the type of legacy support that Konami has been releasing, in that it just makes all of the old stuff playable. I've mentioned, about BES, even with the most recent Reptilian monster that has come out. It's designed completely around making sure that, the biggest issue with Reptilians was solved, which was getting the monster's attack powers to 0, so then you could do, crazy scenarios with Reptilian Hydra. It's so cool. Like, an incredibly, incredibly cool card. And so here I am in this situation, and, going back to the Elemental Heroes, when people say that they want legacy support, they say that they want things. Like, what do they actually want? Do they want to just revamp the old stuff so that they can pretend to play it? Or so that, it's like you can play a long theme. Like, if you make a new Avion, a new Burstinatrix, and a new Flame Wingman, is it still the original Avion, Burstinatrix, and Flame Wingman? Do people who want to play legacy heroes, do they want to play with Avion, Burstinatrix, and Flame Wingman, or do they just like the idea of monsters that are similar, or monsters that are like callbacks fusing together? And I think that's like, it's a big question to ask, especially for people who want to create, those kinds of decks. And I think, like, for me personally, like, I possibly would build a deck like that, but I also really, really like, letting those old cards from GX that never really had their time in the spotlight to shine through, between Elemental Heroes and BES and Gravekeepers and, all the different decks that came out in the GX era that are now getting legacy support. I've been building all of them. I've been having a blast with all of them. Those kinds of decks are the reasons that I still stay in the game and that I still play the game to the extent that I do, because it's just, they are very, very cognizant of people's attachment, I guess, to these older cards, and they don't want to take it away. I think they understand, maybe a lot of people who are in the game, they don't want to play with newer versions of their older cards. They want to play with their older cards. And if they have the chance to play with their older cards, it gets them back into the game. It gets them buying product so that they can build out their older decks. Someone with a Neospatian deck or, something like that from like 2005 or 2006 can now buy a pack of Savage Strike and augment their Neospatian deck to make it really, playable. And I think Konami perhaps understands that from a monetary standpoint, the best course of action is not to redefine these entire archetypes, but to support the existing cards that they have and highlight how awesome some of those cards can be. Between that stuff, like I mentioned about like Volcanics, for instance, as being an archetype that Konami just had to give one piece of support to, and that piece of support, Blaze Accelerator Reload, spoke to the strengths of the entire Volcanic deck, creating just something that was so strong and so good that, it was worth it for a lot of people. And so, the way that I look at it is just that they are trying to satisfy the fan bases and bring back those people who miss that old support. And to be honest, guys, I'm one of them. I love all the stuff that they do with the old support, you know, being able to play Polymerization, BES, Volcanics, Neospatians, Elemental Heroes for real is just, it's such an amazing feeling, and it's a feeling that keeps me coming back to this game time and time again when I should have quit long ago. But guys, that's going to about do it for my commentary on this video. If you liked it, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, you know, anything you want to say, just feel free to let me know. I respond to everything, and really love hearing from you guys. So thanks so much for listening to the video if you got all the way to the end, and I'd love to hear your thoughts below. And this has been the Merman Master with the Team Time Riders YouTube channel, and I'm signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.